Honoring the Journey is sponsored by Choircast, the audio and podcast division of Choir Publishing. Choir amplifies fresh, thought-provoking voices that challenge the status quo and open up new conversations around faith, spirituality, and culture. Their lineup includes authors like Brad Jersak, Matthew DiStefano, Keith Giles, me, and many more. Many voices, one message, Choir. Find out more at choir.com. That's QUOIR.com. Hello, journeyers. Welcome back to another fascinating and exciting journey that we get to honor today on Honoring the Journey with my new friend, Jaxon. Jaxon is an author. He just wrote a book. It's called Only Us, Searching for Truth About the Identity of God and Humanity. First of all, Jaxon, whoa. I mean, talk about taking on a big one. I mean, like trying to find the identity of God and humanity all in one book. I cannot wait to read this book. It's going to be so good. And I know you're with Choir Publishing as well as I am. And Keith Giles, our mutual friend, wrote the foreword to your book. And here's what I know about Keith. He doesn't do that unless he is like fully convinced that this person is like, wow, legit. So that makes me even more excited to read your book. And Jaxon is also, you're a musician. What is that? What did you said? What kind of?
It's a handpan. Yeah,
handpan. What does that mean? What's a handpan musician?
Yeah. So I mean, it literally looks like a spaceship in a way, the shape, but it's a pan that was crafted and it has like multiple tunes to it. And I call myself more of like a handpan healer because the sound of it's very meditative. It's melodic. I usually play it at like yoga studios. I partner with studio owners and I host my own workshops and stuff like that. So it's one of those instruments that I can get into it with my, my story and everything, but it's just one of those instruments that, in my opinion, it kind of chooses you because it's healing for yourself and it's also healing to other people. But I've only been playing it for a year. And people do not believe that I've only been playing for a year, but like I'm literally learning this thing as I go. I don't know how to read music, so it's just
wow. So it chose you. It said, okay, Jaxon, we're gonna do this. I love that. Well, is there any chance during the show that maybe we could get a little demo? Is that a thing?
Sure. I mean, I can get my handpan and play it. I don't mind playing it.
Well, I mean, we can try. We can give it a shot. I think that'd be really fun.
Sure.
I'm always into like new and exciting things. It's funny. All the things that used to scare me when I was an evangelical, like if I would have heard you be like, we meditate with, I would have been like, New Age. Oh my gosh, he's probably from Satan. Yeah.
Oh,
so you know how it is. I mean,
I get that now. So I mean,
I'm sure you do, my friend. Well, and let's get into your story then, because I think we're going to get along great. You guys listen, I went to his YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. And we'll talk about where to find him at the end of the podcast. But he made this one video where he kind of just talked about, deconstruction, really. I mean, just asking questions, making sure your beliefs are yours and not inherited, not something that somebody passed down to you. And it was so good. Literally every line. And I think it's like an 8-minute video. I just kept going, wow, this is going to be a really great conversation. So let's go back, Jaxon. Let's talk about when you were a kid and what was that like? And when did you start asking the tough questions?
So I would say I was always like an inquisitive kind of kid. Like I didn't really take no for an answer. Like if something didn't make sense to me, I would just keep asking. And like my teachers back then, I mean, I went to a private Christian school. And they were very fundamentalist, like African American, Episcopal, Zion type church. And there were just questions I had that teachers would say, hey, you just don't question that. You just have to have faith through that. And the one story that I couldn't make sense of, well, it's actually two stories. The Adam and Eve and Noah. Those were the two stories that I always had questions about that no one could ever give me an answer to. And then I noticed as I grew up as a teenager, it felt like every question that you ask, it always had like an apologetic attached to it. And to me, the truth doesn't need apologetics. I always felt like if something's true, it stands alone. And I guess that I believe that even as a teenager, but I just didn't have the words to explain what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept it all inside and just, I, I just didn't ask the questions anymore because I feel like everyone would gaslight me. No one would actually sit down and give me the answers that I'm looking for. So
What are the questions that you were wondering about those two specific stories?
yeah,
What did you get hung up on?
for me, it's like I noticed that especially in like a Christian school, they give you the creation story, the 7-day creation story. But
Mm.
then when you hear like actual scientists talk about how old the earth is in itself, and I try to kind of I try to think about like how are humans created now? Like if Adam and Eve had two sons, where did the other people come from?
Yeah, where did the women that had
Where
the
did
sons?
who was Cain's wife? Like, why was he scared to, run away if they were the only people on the earth? So I started
Mm.
asking those questions. I'm like, so did God create a whole bunch of humans that they didn't document in the Bible? And I said, at some point, Eve must have had intercourse with her children in order for this to work.
And that's kind of weird.
And that
And yeah,
and that's incest. So I'm like,
yeah.
so it was okay to send back then, but it's not okay now.
Mhm.
Noah's Ark, I couldn't get the understanding about that because I'm like, try living on a cruise ship with a whole bunch of animals and see if you last.
Yeah, what's happening with the excrement? I
Yeah,
remember thinking that as a kid, like, what?
yeah.
How
So
would who clean this out? And when this go?
yeah, and it was just like those kind of questions. It's like I wasn't really looking for like like an 100% like answer. I just wanted someone to be truthful and say, hey, yeah, I don't know,
I don't know.
and I would have respected that more. But when they kind of put it back on me that I'm not having enough faith, it's like,
Yes.
oh, okay, so I know what this
Uh,
is. And so I just kept it to myself. And then of course, the older I got, the more sophisticated my questions got. You
hmm.
go to college and you understand how the human brain works. You start looking at the psychology of people. You realize that people having visions and dreams, and this is how they're deciding when to move. And just imagine if I'm not sure if you're married, but like if your husband just said, oh, I had a dream that we need to move all the way to Iraq today, like, would you believe that? Would you say, hey, maybe we need to reevaluate this? The whole, I'll say the whole Abraham story
Yeah.
when, he brought his son Isaac up to kill him for a sacrifice.
Mhm.
And then randomly an angel comes to tell him not to. I'm in my mind, I'm like, in what world would this be sufficient answer to say, hey, God told me to do this, but then he said, never mind. So it's like we're
Yeah.
not even putting into account the human psychology back then. Like,
Mm.
could Abraham had like a like it's certain
Yeah.
questions that are so explainable today, but
Yeah.
we just let it go because it's been told to us for all these years.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah.
so
Or were there mushrooms involved? No.
just random. There's so many questions that you can
So
ask,
many questions.
but when you ask these questions,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're looked at like the heretic or the person who has gone rogue. You're not trusting God that he his ways is higher than ours. And in my head, I don't. I still believe God's ways are higher than mine. I
Yeah.
just think that if I have a better solution, then obviously this wasn't of God. This is from humans. So I
Right.
think
Right.
humans get their ego into it, and if someone out logics them or they ask questions that they can't answer, they
Mhm.
they make it seem like, oh, you're questioning God. No, I'm questioning you. So
Yes.
yeah,
And you know what? Why would God give us brains if he wanted us to just check them at the door of the church
exactly,
and
right.
not use them to think critically about things? And I talk about this a little bit on my podcast because quite a few people went to college and
Right.
that's when they went, wait a
Yep.
minute. They
Yep.
learned how to think critically.
Yeah.
And back when I was raising my kids, I did not want them to go to a liberal college because I was so afraid that they
Mhm.
were going to lose their faith or whatever. But I think what's happening is when they go to college, they're learning to think critically. They're
Mhm.
learning to be okay with questions, to find sources. And all of a sudden, they were like, wait a minute, the beliefs that literally formed who I am,
Yeah.
are not holding up to these questions.
Mhm.
And I'm starting to, so I don't look at it like college indoctrinates people. I look like it in or unindoctrinates people. Like it
Yeah.
helps people to see there are other ways of viewing the world. And it's not a matter of life or death the way we're taught, whereas if you stop believing, you're going to go to hell forever.
Right.
And when you believe that, it's very easy to kind of stay in line. Did you come from a background like that where hell was kind of a thing?
Oh yeah. Oh, I
Mm.
remember. I'm not sure if you remember this online. This is when YouTube was like not the most viral sensation type thing. It was like you're lucky if a video clip gets like traction. But it was this one video skit about um a, f- I guess it was a guy and his best friend had died or something. And the best friend went to hell and wrote a letter
Mm.
to his best friend from hell and basically tell him how it is there. And then at the end, guilt trips him and say, "Hey, why didn't you tell me about Jesus? Wish you were here with me."
Mm.
And so they use that skit with a lot of us teenagers, basically saying, "Hey, don't let your friends go to hell because if you don't tell them about Jesus, this is going to be them."
And
So
their
it
blood
makes
is on your hands.
in their
Yeah.
bloods on their hands. So
Hmm.
it makes you feel like, oh gosh, like I gotta be radical about my faith. I have to go out there and tell everybody about Jesus to save them. And so you think it's your responsibilities for other people's like eternity and their
Yeah.
fate. And
It's the way it's told.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you
Man.
have Left Behind, you have
Oh,
the Teenage Left Behind series. It was
yeah.
just always about rapture, about you never know if you'll get hit by a car tonight.
Hmm. If you were to
Uh,
die tonight, do you
where
100%
would you
know that
be?
you'd go to heaven?
Yep.
Yeah. Like
Um, yeah.
it's so scary when it's fear that kind of puts you in that mindset of if I'm not doing this. And I remember being told, they're like, if you're just afraid to tell your friends because you're afraid they're going to think you're weird, just know they thought Jesus was weird too.
Mhm,
And like it's okay. That just means that the enemy has them so deceived that
mhm.
they think that you are crazy when in
Yep.
reality you're right and they're wrong.
Yep.
And so it kind of made you go, I guess it's okay that they think I'm nuts.
Yep. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
okay with that if it means that I'm going to get them to heaven.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, what kind of messed up message? I mean, honestly, I
Mhm.
now that I've had time to think about it, I can say that with confidence, but
Well,
coming out of that, Jackson, was that hard for you?
it's still hard
Yeah.
because like when you think of what indoctrination is, right? It's not just like your belief system.
Mhm.
It completely messes with your psychology, your brain.
100%.
Like the way you're seeing the world, the way you relate to humans. You have to
Yes.
rewire your brain to realize that, oh, I was told to think this way. Not I was told
Mhm.
what to believe. I was told how to believe, how to think. um, I was told not to question the man of God.
Yeah.
It was so much hierarchy
Mhm.
that like I can literally remember as a kid, whenever the head pastor came around, people would be quiet. Like they can have their regular conversations and it wouldn't be anything holy. It would be regular, like not even bad, just regular conversation. But if that man of God came near the aisle at any time, you just see people tighten up. You just see
Mhm.
people like change their whole persona. And when I saw that, like again, I didn't have the words to articulate how I felt in that moment, but something in me knew this isn't right. Like this isn't like that person is a person. He's not better than you. He's not. Sometimes they're not even smarter than you. Sometimes they just have the authority and
Mhm.
they make the rules. And so whatever they say goes. And if you question it, then you are now the outsider, and people are afraid of being the outsider or the person with a difference of opinion. And, when you're in that echo chamber, when you're in that kind of environment,
Mhm.
when you're afraid to stand out, you're afraid to lose your friends, your family. And some people, if they work for the church, they're afraid to lose their livelihood.
Yeah.
And they could probably disagree with everything that's going on, but they have so much to lose. And I felt like, you know, even as, a younger person, I just felt that like humans shouldn't have that much authority over another grown person.
Mhm.
But again, the older you get, you realize that this type of mind control is not just in Christianity. it's in all fundamentalist belief systems.
Yeah.
Any person that can control how you treat your family, how you treat your loved ones, your friends, how you see the world, if they have more authority over you than God himself, unfortunately, we've called these things belief systems, but they're really cults. And that kind of mind control exists in things out, like I said, outside of Christianity.
Mhm.
And it's even in like, in work environments,
Yeah.
like company cult. Sure. Like cult is like, it's a group telling you how to interact, how
How to
like
believe, how
how to be,
to
how to be.
interpret.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, and
And
that's a big realization, I think, when you come out of Christianity, because, in Christianity, we're told that anything that's not like us is culty. Like,
mhm,
oh, that's a cult because it doesn't believe the way we do.
right,
But you know what? When I moved to Utah 7 years ago and realized that the Mormons think the same thing, I
exactly.
went, oh, okay. So
Yep.
everybody who's in a very high control religious system believes that anybody who doesn't believe like them is in a cult. So
Mhm,
then I wonder if they think I was in a cult. At this point, I had left the evangelical church, but I was still kind of, I had a toe in it. There was still some fear of letting go.
yeah,
But the more that I did the research, outside of my Christian bubble,
yeah,
the more that I was able to understand how many different ways there are to see the world, just
mhm,
opened my eyes,
yeah,
and the biggest part, it opened my heart.
mhm,
And I didn't realize how closed and cold my heart was towards the world. I was afraid of the world,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And the one the one statement that I hear a lot is that, oh, if you're, you know, not with us now, you were never with us. Like,
Yes.
it really, like,
Mhm.
it's so unfortunate that people think that, because they have no clue on how myself or anyone was back then, how driven we were. Like, because even back then when I had my doubts, like, there was a time I was so afraid of hell that I would say the sinner's prayer before bed, just so
Same.
that I could make sure that, if I die in my sleep, I just want to make sure I said Jesus before I went to bed. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, and I remember as a kid, like, I remember my brother had said something I thought was blasphemous or whatever. And I said, you got to stop that now. If you pray and ask your house, I would literally be so scared that at any time, I, myself or my siblings could go to hell for what we said or did. And that's the kind
Jackson,
of fear we had.
it's so true. And I will tell you, I've done over 90 episodes
Yeah.
of Honoring the Journey. And every single person I've talked to, it was like you, was
Yeah.
so into it, such an evangelist, so fully 100%, like teaching, preaching, evangelizing, trying to spread the good news, quote unquote, but having a hard time believing that it was good news because it was so heavy and
Right.
so fear based.
Yeah.
And you don't see it when you're in it, and you can't.
You can't.
And so, when people say to us, well, you were never really one of us if you're not now, they don't care what you were like because they just know what they know, what they know. They're like, oh, well, if you're there, you were never there, because they can't make sense of why somebody would question the very thing that is their entire identity, their entire foundation. And so it makes them feel better. You know what I mean? I always tell myself, like, Leslie, don't take that personal. They
Yeah.
literally are scared to death because if it's true for you, it could be true for them.
Yeah.
And if they lose that foundation and they're not ready, and I'm telling you, you cannot push somebody into this. It's
Hmm.
kind of like your instrument, it calls you, you
Yeah.
don't call it.
Yeah.
And when it does that, then you can, slowly, it took me years to get to this place of confidence and understanding and, being able to sort of say what I believe
Yeah.
without fear of, going to hell or, hurting somebody's feelings or making them feel afraid for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's a tough process, but like it makes sense why they say that.
And I think the biggest thing that took the fear away from me has literally just been researching history,
Hmm.
because the one thing that can't lie is, like, the truth is the truth. And when you find out where things like hell, or the concept of eternal torment came from, you realize that, oh, this wasn't always what even the Jews believed. Like, if
Mm-mm.
Jesus practiced Judaism, they didn't even talk about eternal torment. So
Right.
where did this eternal torment came from? And when you find out Dante's Inferno, when you talk about how like the Catholic Church would, you know, make people pay penance so that they can get their loved ones out of purgatory.
Yeah.
When you see it, they made these different torture devices to force people to confess that, hey, I believe in this type of doctrine, or you can face death at the hands of the Pope. Like when you see that, like the gospel, quote unquote, was not spread by love, it was spread through war and torture
And fear. Yeah.
and fear. You realize, oh, this whole
Mhm.
time the evangelical church they've been pushing a movement that is only spreading fear and not love. It
Right.
and the concept of eternal torment, I don't think anyone like, if anyone believes in eternal torment, it's not because they actually know what eternal torment really means. What you're basically saying is that you are okay with someone who might be Buddhist, a grandmother who did nothing but love her neighbor as herself. But because she didn't confess the name of Jesus, she's going to burn in hell for eternity because she didn't understand the concept of evangelicalism.
Mhm.
Yet somebody who does understand evangelicalism and spreads racist rhetoric, and they act and they're killed,
Mhm.
they're going to heaven. Where is the love? Where, like, I'm trying to understand, is God about semantics or is he about the heart?
Well, he
Does
says
God,
he's God is love. That's what the
yeah,
Bible says, and I believe that,
and
you
does
know?
he care about American Standard English? Like that there's certain words that, what happens if, and I always play with scenarios because even though they may be far out, there's still possibilities.
Yeah.
So if someone can't talk, if someone is also deaf, if someone also is non, you know what I'm saying, that they have
Mhm.
all these disabilities that allows them to just exist. What gives them a chance to go to heaven?
Mm. It's true. And what about people, now that I'm living here in Utah, who were literally born into a
Right.
different religion? They
Yeah.
don't know any different. They
Yeah.
just, that's literally their culture. Everything else they're afraid of.
Mhm. And I think it's just the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, for humans, we only know what's going on in our existence now. But when you're constantly obsessed about what happens next after all of this, all you're thinking about is like, I want to make sure that I'm good no matter what. And so we make up these afterlife beliefs so that we can feel good about the time, because we're scared to die. We don't know what's after this,
That's right.
So it's like, I have to have this security blanket to know that, okay, I said this prayer, I believe these things, so when I close my eyes to take my last breath, I know that I'm good. But you really don't know anything. Just like when we were born, we don't know, we don't remember like being in the womb. We just know that one day we were born and we started developing our cognitive functions and we started to remember things, and then we were able to talk, and but we can't go but so far back to remember how all of this originated. So
Mhm.
same way with death. So
Mhm.
for me, it's like, yes, I have faith in God, but I have faith that God would do what is right. I have
Mhm.
faith that, like a loving, just like a earthly loving father would never torture his child when he does something or she does something wrong,
Mhm.
or God forbid they are estranged. You can't tell me one parent on this earth that, even if they had a falling out with their child and they haven't spoke to their child in years, if their child showed up on their doorstep today, they would not attempt to kill them and then let alone torture them.
Like forever,
Right. Right.
forever, no reprieve.
And that's the thing about the eternity part. It's like like, it's just like, we don't think God is compassionate if you think that he gets off at allowing someone to be tortured for eternity while their family members are having a party upstairs. And God is going to wipe the tears from their eyes so they can just forget who their loved one was.
And that
Like,
they're suffering forever. Yeah.
yeah, like, how can you even believe, like, even if you believe in a God like that, how are you like not depressed? Like, and I think that's
No,
what
I was.
But and I think that's what brings on depression is
Mhm.
because you never know what your status is, and you're constantly trying to prove yourself.
Right. And I would say a real indication that you really, really believe that it's true is that you do get depressed or
Mhm,
anxious.
mhm.
Because how can you not be? Like the people who aren't depressed or anxious who believe that that's true, to me, that tells me there's some cognitive dissonance. There's something happening that is not, they don't truly believe as much as they want us to. Because
Yep.
if they did, it would affect their mental health. If people that they loved were going to be tortured for all of eternity while they're just getting their tears wiped and
Right.
living in bliss forever. Because I as a mom, I can't even imagine what that would be like. And I did imagine it for a long time.
Mhm.
And I say it often, Jackson, on the podcast. So sorry guys, I'm gonna say it again. But like when I believed in hell is when I lived in hell.
Mm.
And I believe that is the hell that we create for ourselves when
Yeah.
we believe that there is ever any separation from the God who created us and loved us and has good intentions toward us and
Yeah.
wants nothing but the best for us.
Yeah.
When we believe anything other than that, that's when we live in hell.
Mhm. Mhm. And I mean, just to piggyback off what you said, it's like God is also a God of justice. So I think
Yeah.
people misconstrue, if you don't believe in eternal torment, you don't believe in justice. That's not at all what that means.
No. Mm-mm.
Like if you're looking at even scales here, like living on earth for however long you live on earth, anywhere between a child, children die, all the way up to like let's say you live up to be 115, that's give or take, right? That's not even close to eternity. So whatever you did in that small period of time does not equate to you spending the rest of your time in hell because you didn't believe a certain belief system. And then you're also talking about there's other religions that have a hell doctrine as well.
Mhm.
How do you know their hell doctrine isn't right?
Right.
That means you might have, gotten good with the Christian God, but what about the Hindu God? What about the Muslim God? Like,
Yeah.
what if their belief system is right? That means you're jumping the fence here. You may be wrong. Their belief system might be right. So it's just like believing in hell to me really doesn't make me love people better.
Mm-mm.
It does.
That's a really great point, Jackson. It actually makes you fear for them, and it makes you feel like you have an answer, and you need to convince them of it
Yeah.
instead of being able to connect on a human level, which
Yeah.
is, I think, one of the biggest gifts of deconstruction for me is being able to learn from other people instead of trying to change them into a little mini me, believing exactly like me so that they don't go to hell. I'm able to just really go, okay, help me understand why you believe that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Of course you would believe that because this is your culture. These things just it's so much bigger than what we think. And until we open our eyes and see that,
Yeah.
it's really hard. So when you started asking these questions and you started to realize, okay, this may not be how I truly believe. What did your family think of this? Was this difficult for them? And where are they now with you?
Yeah, so that's the crazy thing. I'm fortunate because there are families that you can become like the black sheep of the
Mhm.
family, you disconnect or whatever. My family, on the other hand, they've always raised me to think for myself. They in particular, like they know that like certain pastors are are how can I put it, narcissistic in some kind of ways.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah. Mhm.
what they say goes, and no one can kind of question them. So they
Yeah.
always had me, keep that small level of skepticism.
Mhm.
I have more of a skeptical mind than them, but you know, they never disown me for having a different belief system.
That's
They
nice.
but the one thing they've always planted in my heart is a foundation in just following Jesus.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so and from there, I always say that Jesus will always be my foundation. And then everything else from there is where I, have the freedom to research, to examine, to question. And if it holds up to the questioning, I'll keep it. If it doesn't, then I leave it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like if I'm communicating with someone of a different belief system, like let's say if I'm talking to someone who's Buddhist,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to convert them into Christianity. I'm trying to introduce them into the ways of Jesus. How can I be a Jesus follower as a Buddhist? Like I feel like Jesus will literally take any belief system you have and show you the way to live and relate to people.
Yeah.
Jesus himself was not a Christian. Jesus was a practicing Jew.
Mm-hmm.
Jews back then, if they saw the evangelical Christianity today, would think it's absolute heresy.
Yeah.
So it shows you that based off of the time you're living in, the generation you're living in, the culture you're living in, number one, the morality changes.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on how humans should relate changes, and we evolve as a human species. We look at women differently now. Like, you know what I mean? Like how they view women back then, they viewed them as almost like property.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to talk to a woman the way they talk to women back then and talk to them now like that. It wouldn't hold up, right?
Right. Right.
But yet we hold on to certain scriptures as if, oh, this is by the book how we should do things in 2025.
Right.
Instead of saying, oh, okay, let's see how they treated people. Okay, we can
There's
learn.
nuance.
Yeah, we can. And again, you can still learn from it. Say,
Mhm.
oh, we just won't repeat that. Like it's
Right.
giving you examples of what not to do.
Yeah.
You can sometimes the best teacher is learning from other people's mistakes,
Right.
not repeating the same mistake and then saying, oh, because it's so ancient, we just have to follow it.
Right.
Absolutely not. What happened if we never bumped into the scrolls? Like, is humanity at risk if someone doesn't discover something in the cave? Is humanity at risk if Paul never had a vision on Damascus Road saying that he saw the living Jesus Christ, but he never met Jesus in person? Imagine if someone today said they had a vision of Jesus and Jesus said, no, we don't have to practice this. We need to do this now. And then everybody started following that person. And before you know it, instead of quoting Jesus, they're quoting that person.
Yeah, it happens every single day. And, Jesus was the first one to show us how to do this in the right way. He
Yeah.
said, you've heard it said this, but I tell you this.
Yeah.
And he gave us the literal, the prototype on how to deconstruct and how to say, okay, now you've heard it said this, but like, look at it this way.
Mm-hmm.
This is another way of looking at it. There's nothing wrong with that. He
Right.
didn't say it's heresy if you're looking at it a different way. He said, no, you've heard it said this, but I tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like, hey guys, think. Like we're kind of going forward. We're evolving as human beings.
Yep.
We're realizing that things were wrong. We're realizing this wasn't the right thing to do. We're realizing that when you don't work on Sunday, that means people could die. And I'm telling you, a person's life is worth more than that.
Exactly.
So it's like, think for yourself.
Yes.
And I love that. And that's why I think it's, as long as you're following Jesus and love,
Yes.
like
Yes.
you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most people who aren't Christians, it's not that they dislike Jesus. They dislike how people are in Christianity. Like the people of Christianity have made an idol out of the religion. Mm-hmm. And you can see that today, like with the whole Christian nationalism. Like, and I think, and even in my book, I come out as a Christian humanist because it's in rebellion to Christian nationalism. Mm-hmm. It's a direct rebellion to say you cannot call someone less than God's child just because they're not an American.
Or they believe a different way. Yeah. Or anything.
Yeah, because the gospel isn't American. Mm-hmm. The gospel is for the world. Right. God loves the world, not just America. And I think that is kind of what I'm standing up against. Because the majority of the pushback I get are from people that, who really think that America is here to save the world. Mm-hmm. They don't think Jesus came here to save the world. They think that it is Americans, the United States of America's responsibility to be the example for every other country. We're responsible for bringing the missionaries out to parts of Africa and say, oh, we'll give you clean water if you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior.
Right.
And the one thing, and my wife, she thinks I get so angry, but like I do, because even when I see these commercials at night and you see like these starving people and they have flies all around them, instead of recording them, how about you give them some dignity and don't record them and actually do what you're supposed to do, which is feed them? Why are you recording them just to suck money out of us so that you can have a nonprofit organization that you're still paying these executives, and they're getting a lot of money to put on this performance that they're helping the needy, when really, why can't you just do it? I think it's a lot of performance.
Yeah.
And I feel like in today's culture, it's all about how good I look, how many people we baptized, how many people we saved this year, and how much money we've given to other churches. And I'm like, okay, so now that the government shutdown's happening, and now that, people aren't getting a lot of money because, they're furloughed, or maybe they had to, look elsewhere, and they're in between jobs, and now they can't really afford their mortgage. And you're telling me they still have to pay your church 10%. Why, out of all the years they've tithed to you with tithes and offerings, these love offerings, why can't you now pour back into them? They poured into your organization all these years. Why is it now? It should be now the time for the church organization to start feeding its people. We put all this money in the storehouse so that, everyone can eat, but we go into the doors and there's no food.
Well, most of the time the doors are closed at the church,
Exactly.
except on Sunday
Exactly.
or Wednesday night.
They need to receive more from us.
Yeah.
But when we're coming to open the door, say, hey, we're starving out here. Oh, set an appointment and we'll talk about if you qualify for extra financial support.
Oh, man. It's so discouraging. I know. It's frustrating. And it's really so simple. And that is, I think, why, the message of Christ was also like, don't announce what you're doing. Just go do it. Just go out and love these people, give them what they need. That is the way of Christ. If you want to be a Jesus follower, you don't have to go to church every Sunday. You have to love people right where they are, no matter what they believe, no matter where they live, no matter, what class they're in or whatever. It's all just so monetized now that I don't even recognize the church right now. And it's very discouraging. I guess I left in 2016 and a lot of it because church got into bed with politics. And I was like, I knew we were always kind of political, but like when it got real serious was when, people wanted to vote somebody in who didn't line up with the very things that they told me were the most important things, and all of a sudden it was okay. And that was really hard for me because I think in that moment I went, oh gosh, what else have they been teaching me that I need to look into? I've got some work to do if I want my faith to be mine and not a church faith, but like a real Jesus kind of faith.
Yes.
And that's when it got hard. That's when it got really hard.
Yeah. And again, when you are on that journey to strictly follow the ways of Jesus, you have to be ready to be persecuted. And when you were younger, you were taught that like Christians get persecuted by the outsiders. Yeah, Christians get persecuted by the atheists. No, you're going to get persecuted by your own people. Like I get no pushback from people who aren't Christians. I get no pushback from people who don't even really follow Jesus. I talk about Jesus all the time. Like that's never been the issue.
Right.
The issue I've always had has been the hierarchy in the Christian faith, in evangelicalism, because I to this day, I can't understand how there can be anyone poor in a community and there be a rich leader with more to more is given, you have more responsibility.
Right.
That means there's no reason for a single mother on welfare in your church. There's no reason she should be given to you and you're rich. There's no reason. If you have 10,000 members and 60% of them are living paycheck to paycheck, but the pastor is wearing outfits that cost more than their life savings, that's what bothers me. And it's so tone deaf. And it makes me feel like, okay, either people just don't care, or maybe they have them brainwashed. Because because from the outside looking in, it automatically looks ridiculous. It looks weird, right?
Yeah.
But I can remember like being in it and something still didn't feel right. So
Mhm.
maybe, you know how when if you go to a show where they hypnotize people, and sometimes it works for like everybody on the stage, but it's just that one person that they couldn't hypnotize, and they slowly like tell them to go back to their seat. That's how I feel I've been treated in church. Like it
Mhm.
didn't work on me. Like the indoctrination just never worked. And now that I'm screaming to the rooftops, like, hey guys, they're lying to you. They're playing tricks on you. They're trying to get me off the stage, because if everybody woke up and realized that the source of the universe doesn't need a third party, like the Protestant movement was all about protesting the Catholic Church, saying we don't need a third party, we don't need a priest to go on our behalf to ask God for forgiveness. We don't need to pray to Mary to
Right.
help with the wrath of God. We can go directly to God and pray to God, right? Protestantism started that, and now the third party is the local church and the pastor. They just switch roles. The pastor is now the pope, because if you go against the pastor, you're out of God's will.
Well, Jackson, what do you think we do different? Like, how, if you could change the church tomorrow, what would be the first thing you would do?
The first thing I would do is take away the stage.
Mm.
Churches become a performance. It everybody is performing. You go through the doors, everyone's smiling. There's nothing to smile about right now. Like if you were looking at the state of humanity right now, like there people are hurting. And if they can't feel safe enough to go through the doors and be their authentic self and say, hey, I'm not feeling it right now, I'm not on 100%, I'm hurting. If they don't feel safe to do that, there's something wrong with this community. That means that I'm constantly on. And the minute I could have just went through a nervous breakdown about an hour ago. And then as soon as I come through the door, I'm greeting guests. Like that's not normal behavior. That's not
Right.
authentic. So first, I just think that we have to take off the mask, we have to tear down the stages. And I think we need to turn church into a therapy session, like a circle of people having conversation and figuring this thing out. And the pastor doesn't need to be the TED Talk person every Sunday. I think at most the pastor should be a glorified discussion host.
Mhm.
Like ask
Facilitator. Yeah.
facilitator, just ask the question, allow the room to ponder and contemplate and
Mhm.
figure out the meaning of life. Like there's more to life than just coming up with these creative punchline sermons so that you can get a million views on Instagram and YouTube. Like we don't need these punchlines. We need actual transformation. And the only way you can get transformation is when you feel safe in an environment where you can literally tell how you really feel, how
Mhm.
what you really believe, what you really think. If you cannot do that, there will never be transformation. There will only be an environment to force, like just conforming to whatever the will of the organization wants. Like you're never transforming into the person God wants you to be. You're
Mhm.
trying to be the spawn of the past. You're trying to be like the pastor.
Yeah.
He's telling you how to think, what to wear, how to treat people. And quite frankly, if we were able to see how that pastor is outside of out of church, you'd be highly surprised. He's probably not the same person.
Yeah.
And that's how come we're seeing these scandals. And that's how come we're seeing that, oh my gosh, I can't believe he actually looked at another woman. Yeah, he's been doing this for years,
Right.
but no one was holding him accountable.
Well, that is no one's that is such a big one. Well, and I love, okay, what you just said, I think is a great question to ask yourself. If you are still in a church, something feels weird. Like, do you feel safe? Do
Right.
you feel safe to say, I don't feel it? Like, I'm really hurting. I'm feeling, or maybe you've just been diagnosed with something. I know, for instance, when I had a hysterectomy when I was, probably 35, I think.
Mhm,
And I was on Christian radio at the time doing a morning show.
mhm,
I talked about my hysterectomy on the air
mhm.
and immediately was told that I didn't have enough faith. If
Wow,
you had faith, you'd be healed. You wouldn't need surgery.
wow,
Then people went after my husband for
wow.
not leading me well. Oh, your husband's not leading you well. And so they're questioning not only my husband, but me in a decision that we made together and felt very confident about. And I don't even know these people, but they were like literally trying to push their, you know, you don't have enough faith. And so then I start thinking, well, maybe I don't have enough faith, you know. So then you start to feel it's like gaslighting people who are in at their worst.
Yeah.
And then like when it's funny, when I had the hysterectomy and they did the biopsy, it turns out I had precancer. It's a good thing that I had this hysterectomy because who knows what, you know what I mean? If I would have just said, oh, I just have faith, it's fine. You know, God gave us doctors for a reason. Like it just, to me, I think instead of telling people they don't have enough faith or telling people this is what you need to do, listen.
Yeah.
They don't know how to listen. They just want to be heard all the time. Yeah. And they don't really, like if you go to them and say, this is the outcome, and so I'm really glad I did it. Well, you know, there's always a reason. Yeah, that makes them look good. Yeah. And it was just it was one of the first things that I think I was just like, I don't think I feel safe here. I'm going to have to put a mask on. And as long as I had the mask on, I was fine. Yeah. As long as I played the game the way I was supposed to, and I was really, really good at it. I wore polyester when I preached on the stage, which, you know, to women and children, never men. I did everything to look like the Christian speaker, you know, and radio host and everything. And now I just don't care. I don't care what people think. I am myself. And if I am too much for you, I get it. Please leave. I'll be fine. Yeah. And so will you. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so different. Yeah. So I feel safe now because I am truly walking in who I am meant to be and not who somebody's telling me I need to be.
Yeah. 100%.
So what a great question. What are some other questions people can ask, Jaxon?
I would also say, you know, for me, and I can just go back to how everything kind of morphed into where I'm at today. Yeah. So in early 2024, I went through a stage of severe depression. It was one of those times in my life where I'm finally able to talk about it without like breaking down, because during that time, it was like I was losing people, like people were dying. And I came to a point in my mind, like, I didn't want any surprises. Like, I would much rather end it myself than to have some tragic death that I didn't see coming. And so like, I was just struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts, even to a point where, you know, I felt like even when I went to a beach, I wanted to like drown myself. Like any opportunity I could slowly get out of here, that was like the constant intrusive thoughts I was having, to a point where it's like I had an episode at home where I got some unfortunate news and it sent me into a huge like panic attack. And that panic attack, I was like laying on the ground, holding my chest and like screaming, and my chest was tight, my head was ringing. And later that day, you know, I decided, you know what, if I don't get this checked, I'm not going to make it much longer. So, you know, I got therapy. I called in, I literally told them, hey, I don't want to kill myself. Like, I need help. And that therapy office, they signed me up with a therapist. And I've been in therapy since, I would say, mid 2024 up until now. And it's going really well. Like, it really helped me. But I realized that I had to unpack a lot of religious trauma. And a lot of that religious trauma, you know, unfortunately, it made me go through a whole like existential crisis. It made me feel like, oh my gosh, like a lot of people are like lying to me. I can't process this. And every time I ask a question, it's like they're telling me that I'm the problem. And I never could process like anything that pastors told me, because it's like I can see right through this. Like, you prepared yourself to talk to us and gaslight us into not believing things. And the things that we do, the things that we're asking are not unreasonable. They're simple questions. And when I started to just research, I just realized that my issue was never about God. It was that boy who never got his questions answered, and he's screaming out for help. So when I started getting more in touch with that, I realized that, I still want to be here. And I just need to, just make sure that I'm surrounding myself around people who are willing to go on that journey with me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
I
so
do.
when I started doing that, things started lightening up for me. And then I stumbled on the handpan and realized that, like, as a kid, I always wanted to play an instrument, but I never knew how to read music. Right. And so you couldn't keep me to sit still enough to learn how to play the piano. I always liked the piano, but I
Same.
but I just
Couldn't
didn't
do it.
have the discipline. I didn't have the
Yeah.
discipline.
Same.
So when I stumbled upon this handpan, and during, the mid stage of my depression, it was like that instrument that really soothed me. Like, I get lost in it. Like, I hear melodies in my head and I'm just able to play it. I can't tell you what notes they are. I can't tell you where I'm getting these melodies from. I just equated that is God. Like, I literally think it's God, and that's why I'm so humble about it, because I don't want to lose it. It's like this gift. No one taught me how to play the handpan. I even looked on YouTube, and there's actual instructors teaching people how to correctly play the handpan, and I'm doing everything without being taught. And
Wow.
so it's to me, it's like a miracle, and like God, like, winking at me and telling me, hey, you know what? The rules that these humans made up don't apply. I give you a gift. I give, like, what father doesn't give their child a good gift? And so, like, when I hear like certain scriptures now, it's like I'm able to process them differently, not as like these are just like rules to follow. I'm looking at the Bible like a case study for humans. It's literally humans writing down their experiences, history, poems, like all of it is like it's like a time capsule. And you're getting this bite-sized version of how humans related to their environment, other humans, and God. Some stuff was horrible, like genocide, rape, and all of this stuff. But that happens today. But then you have the creatives, like the poems, the psalms, then you have like the allegorical stories that have a bigger concept than just surface level scriptures. Like,
Right.
that's how I write. I write a lot of allegorical scenarios to get people out of their own thinking and see it from another perspective. And so, like, when I start viewing like the Bible more so of a case study time capsule, it brought everything to life to me. And now it's like I'm not I don't feel guilty about what I believe now, because when they say have a relationship with Jesus, that's what this is. It's a relationship that transcends like your church attendance, your theology, because let's be real, theology was also created to establish some type of hierarchy to say, I know more than you, so you should listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the more I understand, if this person told this person what to do, that means that it goes back further. So we can't even really establish who the first human was, but can't even if we could establish the first human that ever existed, gave the first theology statement ever, where did he get that from? And
Mhm.
how do we know he knows what the hell he's talking about? It's like you go so far back, there is a point where you have to either say this person heard a booming voice from the heavens and they were the chosen person of the entire universe to tell us about the Christian faith, or humans are being humans and they are doing the best they can with what they have during that time in that generation, passed it to their kids and their kids and their kids, and we are left to decipher whether or not this was BS or if it's truth. And once you realize that humans have never changed, we all have ego, we all have agendas that we want to establish in our cultures, and we all have to have discernment to realize what's truth and what's fiction.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's tough. Well, so when you hear scripture, do you hear the handpan? Do you hear a tune? Because here's what I'm thinking. Because I told you I would love for you to play a little bit for us if you don't mind. But I am thinking of a scripture,
mhm.
and if I say that scripture, will you hear something? Like, is that the way this works, or is it just sort of something
So,
else?
yes and no. So
Okay.
if you were to, let's say if you chose I don't know, like Psalms or Proverbs or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And you just started reading it. Like I naturally know how to fill in those gaps.
Mm.
Like illustrating, like I see sound. If that makes sense.
Oh,
It
totally. No,
yeah,
I get it.
it's like I feel like like sound has like, or every note can be illustrated.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like if you're
Mhm.
talking about a story, I can illustrate that with how I'm playing it to make you more immersed into what you're talking about.
Can you think about our conversation that we just had?
Mhm.
Is there a melody that's going on that maybe you could share with us?
Sure. You want me to
Oh,
get it?
that would be awesome. Yes.
I can get it right now. One
Okay,
second.
great. Thank you.
You hear that?
Sounds great.
Oh, perfect. And I do this thing before I play in my head. I always think about my my great grandmother, Elizabeth Hortense Jackson. She spells her that's my great grandmother, and her last name spelled Jackson. I wanted to mix Jackson with my first name, Jason, and so that's why I put the X. So it's like Jason and Jackson.
Oh, I
Phoenix,
love it.
yeah, and Phoenix represents rebirth. So it's like I just think of my grandmother. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So yeah. So I close my eyes, I think of my grandmother, and then I say, Adonai, reveal what you want me to play. And in my head, I just sit there and things come to me like this song, like
Mm, that was amazing.
and yeah, that's just like I always try to. I always go through this like imposter syndrome. Like, can somebody else do that? Like, and that's why I asked my wife. I've asked like my brother to like just play it and just see if it's like an easy instrument to play. And every time they do it, it's like, how do you get like the sound to resonate, and like how do you get it to blend the way it blends? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. I can't really explain how I'm doing it, but it's like I just tried to like disprove myself so many times. I said, I can't have a gift like this and it's really something. Because that's like, why me? How do I learn how to play the handpan without learning music or the actual techniques it takes to play the handpan? Like I to this day I still can't understand it. So it's like I'm constantly trying to find something like to discount what I'm doing because I'm still in disbelief. And so in the meantime, I'm just every time I play, I just give all glory to God because I want to remain humble and I don't want this gift to go away. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah. No,
yeah.
I get it. Well, it was beautiful. And it actually what I kind of saw in my mind as you were playing that is just you running towards freedom.
Hmm.
Just like hands up, just running.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what our conversation kind of felt like too.
Yeah.
Like, us, both of us kind of just trying to get away from the shackles that kind of held us down, that we always kind of knew were there, but didn't really quite know how to get away from
Hmm.
without, I think a lot of people are afraid to leave their faith tradition because they don't want to lose God. But I think you and I are both very good examples of you don't lose God. You
Right.
can't. You
Right.
can't lose God. You're losing dogma, and it's very different. And you're
Hmm.
losing certainty, which
Hmm.
can be very confining. It's the opposite of faith. You can still have a very rich and beautiful faith experience with God without having to feel like you're in shackles.
Yeah.
So thank
And
you
I
for sharing that.
and the one thing, like I said, the one thing that has proven that I'm on the right path with what I'm saying about faith and all of this is that bitterness has slowly been like leaking from me. Like I used to just there was a time I wanted just to be an atheist because I was like,
Yeah,
I just figured all of this. You guys have
just
been
too hard.
lying.
Yeah,
Why even hold on to God? Like y'all must have messed up. Y'all must have made up God too, you know.
yeah,
But then when you are really in a isolated space and you scream to God, like you talk to God like he is there or
right.
it is there. This
Yeah,
being is there. We have to stop talking to God like in the back of your mind, but maybe he doesn't hear me. Because that's what I struggle with. I
mhm.
would pray and say what I wanted to say and then hope that he actually heard me. Right. I talk like one time I was in the shower and my wife said, "Who are you talking to in the shower?" And like I forgot that she was like near the room, the bathroom. And I like when I talk, I curse, I talk, I do everything that I would do to a human. Like I talk,
Right. Yeah.
like if I'm frustrated, God knows I'm frustrated anyway. So I might as well just
Be
be
frustrated.
frustrated, right? And so when I realized that like I am no longer bitter
Mhm.
towards evangelical Christians.
It's beautiful.
I literally realized that, oh, you really believe that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why you're afraid.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So, like, if I was in the water with someone who couldn't swim and they had a life jacket on, but I knew how to swim, I'm not going to take their life jacket off.
Mm-mm. Mm.
I'm I'm just going to float in the water with them. I say, okay, you need this, but can we at least hold hands and get to the other side of the
Right.
pool? Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, that's how I see them. Cause I said, you guys believe in God just like I do. I just don't need this life jacket. I don't need it because
Right.
I trust in my ability to swim, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't trust in your ability to swim, I will never make you drown. Like
Right.
I'm gonna allow you to exist in this world the way you feel safe. As long as you're not trying to dump my head under the water,
Yeah.
we're fine. You know what
We're
I mean? So
good.
that's
Yeah.
how I see like other
I
people,
love that.
you
I
know.
love that analogy. That's beautiful, Jackson. And I feel like it's such a perfect way to end this because I do think that a lot of people are working through the being angry phase.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to help people understand that. I think there is something that happens when you literally just remember
Mm,
how you used to see life,
mhm,
how you used to see the world. When you put those glasses back on just for a second and go, it all makes sense.
mhm,
And when you start to understand it's not personal, they're not mad at you, they're
mhm.
scared for you. They
Yes.
love you. They
They
love
trying
you
to
with
protect you.
it's a desperation, and that's what happens. Literally, Jackson, think about it. This is why I think it's so important for people to believe,
Mhm,
like Jesus said, that we are already connected to God, that
mhm.
the kingdom of God is within us.
Yes.
When we don't believe that the kingdom of God is within us unless we do this, 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 and this,
Mhm,
we get desperate. And when we get desperate, we can't be rational.
Right.
We can't, because we're desperate. We want the people we love to be connected. We want ourselves to be connected. We want, and we'll do anything it takes.
Yeah.
And you see it everywhere. There's wars. There's people getting slaughtered in certain countries when people don't believe the right way. There's such a desperation that breeds nothing but evil in us, and we don't see it when we're in it.
Nope.
But there will come a point, if you're listening and you're going through deconstruction and you're at that real angry phase. It's normal. For people like me and Jackson, both of us, I've told my listeners before, but like the depression is what happened when I was so angry, because it's so against who I am. It is not who I am. I did not like that phase at all, but it was the most important thing, because it was like a neon sign pointing to all the ungrieved grief that I needed to go through in therapy, that all the things that I needed to deal with. And I love that you're using this instrument as a tool of healing for yourself. I want to encourage you, if you're listening, go find something to pour yourself into that's healthy and beautiful and makes you feel like you're able to express these emotions. For once in our lives, once you get through and you realize that emotions are not evil, they are not liars. They are literally just companions. They don't define you, and you don't want to make all your decisions about them, but they will help you make good decisions. They will help you when like if your emotions are coming up, there's a reason. Ask yourself why, and really start dealing with that stuff, and seeing the people who are in your faith tradition, who are still in that dogma and that certainty and what you left, that, when they treat you in a way that feels kind of, I don't know, icky, I guess, for lack of a better term. When they treat you that way, just know it's not personal. They're trying to protect their hearts. So thank you, Jaxon. You're amazing. That was so great. And I love your book. Okay, let's talk about your book just for a second, because
sure.
I want you to tell people it's Only Us: Searching for Truth About the Identity of God and Humanity. And is this is this kind of what happened, what you realized going through deconstruction?
Yes. Again, it's a memoir. So there's so many short stories, examples, and then I go through, my process and how I deconstructed in the end. The last chapter is literally me coming out as, a Christian humanist. That's literally like what I come out as. And it's called Brutal Honesty. And it is telling everything that got me there. And I want the reader to know that this is not a book that is trying to force my belief system on someone else. No. This is literally a template to how you can get started for yourself.
Yes.
And you can, and even in the introduction, I say, hey, push back against it. Like I want people to disagree with me, because the whole reason indoctrination works is because you're not allowed to disagree.
Right. Yeah.
And so I am giving a living presentation of someone who was agnostic, and still in some ways I call myself kind of a believing agnostic, because I just choose to believe even though I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
And that's called faith.
That's what faith is.
That's faith. That it's not certainty. Certainty
Exactly.
is not faith.
Yeah.
Faith is when you believe something, even when
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you can't even prove it. I just know. It's a knowing.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so like for the reader, I'm living this out and giving or shouting the questions that they've been wanting to shout out, but too scared to ask them, So, I'll be the person to get the backlash for you. So that way you can, have like an example of what questions you really need to examine. And when I've noticed that when people are upset about your questions, it's because they either don't have the answer, or they actually think that you're on to something, and they put their whole life dedicated to this way of thinking, and you're about to collapse it. Like, so they're trying to defeat you before you get something started. So to me, it's just like, I am here to open the conversation, not end it. That's all.
Yes, that's beautiful. Your book sounds a lot like mine, Jaxon.
Nice.
And we're both choir publishing authors, and And it's the same thing. It's my memoir. I talk about, these are the questions I asked. These are the conclusions I came to. But by golly, you're going to come to different. I mean, we're just so different, and we don't have to be exactly the same at the end
Right.
of this.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the beauty. That's why I love color now, like, rainbows and all of it, not because of any other reason that I think I was so black and white before.
Yeah.
And now I see how multi-dimensional this world is and how many different views of how to see things. And I can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I can kind of keep it in my heart. I don't have to be afraid anymore.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your journey. I honor your journey, Jaxon. And thank
you so
you
much.
very much for sharing that beautiful instrument with us as well. I think I can attest it's a gift, and I believe it is God-given, because I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with that thing if you put it in my lap. I mean, is this a walk? What do I do?
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, sir. And you have an amazing day.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
being here.
Appreciate it.